When America is tested, we find strength from within and power through the challenges. But it takes reliable, affordable energy, and we've got a choice on how we get it. Import energy from unstable regions or produce natural gas and oil right here in America. Depend on foreign governments for our natural gas and oil, or protect our energy independence, keep American jobs, and maintain global competitiveness. Solutions are made in America with America's natural gas and oil. Paid for by Energy Citizens.
This podcast of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air.
Attention homeowners, due to upcoming government regulations, the current energy efficiency ratings for HVAC systems will change. Current inventory cannot be sold after December 31st. As the year 2023 starts, customers can expect to pay an average of 30% more for a new HVAC unit that will meet the new government regulations.
So what does this mean for you, the customer? There's no better time to purchase a new HVAC system. AAA Heating and Air must empty their warehouse to make room for the new systems. No deals will be turned down. With their 15-year parts and labor warranty plus guaranteed financing, they have made it possible for anyone to get a new system.
Call today and enjoy your new home comfort as quickly as tomorrow. But you can only get this special deal by calling 803-677-1500. AAA Heating and Air wants to give you their best deal possible on a new HVAC unit, but you have to call today. 803-677-1500.
And tell them you heard about this deal on 107.5 The Game's Gamecock Central podcast.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler.
This has been in the works for a while. We're really excited to officially have the Gamecock Central Hour.
Chris Clark.
And JJ has accepted an invite to the Senior Bowl already, which is awesome, the Reese's Senior Bowl.
And Wes Mitchell.
I think he's well above 200 into like the 210 range. A dude in the weight room, too, like from a strength standpoint.
On the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
3 minutes after 11 o'clock on a Monday morning, and welcome back in to the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, Preston Thorne here with you. Y'all are looking fresh, looking good. I mean, Saturday was all day, a lot of fun, great show, and congratulations to you guys for pulling that off second year in a row. Last year was a big deal, and it was like an afternoon, evening thing. This was like all day. Y'all don't look sunburned. Y'all don't look hungover. Y'all look like you made it.
That's a big step up for Chris, who always looks sunburned.
I'll count that as a giant win. I'm sure later today, Wes and I are going to be on camera, and I'm sure I will get sunburn comments.
Chris, why you didn't
ever heard of sunburn?
He's just permanently flustered, actually.
No, I slept yesterday. Like I was like, I'm taking the day.
When did things wrap Saturday?
I don't know, 11:30. I don't know, something like that. It was actually an earlier wrap than it was last year. I think me and Preston and Patrick Davis and Langston and
we went overtime last year.
they literally kicked us out, I think.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Shout out to Preston for coming out and running our player panel as well. You can literally hand Preston a mic, because that's exactly what I did, and say, I need you, man. And he'll go, I got you. And then kill it, basically. Yep. So it was cool. It was fun. We had a lot of different elements that were cool. I thought having the players there, though, because ultimately this is what it's all about, fans connecting with the players. Could not be more impressed with those guys and how they represented the University of South Carolina. So that was really cool. There's a lot of negativity about NIL, and you see all the headlines, all this stuff about, well, this guy's getting this to go to this school. But for those guys to be able to come out, connect with the fans, and actually get compensated for their time in a legal way and in a way that they are bringing value to an event, I thought was fantastic, and that was probably my favorite part about it.
For me, it was really interesting because I guess I see football guys all the time, so it's not a big deal to me, but to see the women's basketball players out there, I was like, there's Olivia, there's Destiny. I was like, this is amazing, so that was really cool for me to see some of those players, some of the athletes that I don't get a chance to interact with as often, to see them out there was really awesome.
Great job, guys. How was the food? I had to leave before they brought the food out.
It was great.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was awesome.
I was
mad.
I saw
running around shoving it in my face, but
I'm hungry and I had to leave before that. It was good. Y'all should do that like twice a year.
No. Zero chance.
Hard pass.
Well, it was a good weekend if you're a South Carolina fan and you were out there. South Carolina had its second scrimmage, and South Carolina also got some big recruiting news yesterday afternoon. We'll actually let you hear some of the commitment video from one Xavier Hardy. It's more of a visual thing, actually. There was a I thought I saw another one that was
I thought he was going to speak.
Huh?
I thought
he was too. I saw
awesome.
some video. I thought that was a video of him speaking. Anyway, I'll find the right one. Anyway, Xavier Hardy, another 4-star defensive lineman out of Georgia, committed over the weekend to South Carolina. Was that one that you guys saw coming, or was this a little bit of a surprise?
I am flustered now by the audio sample from audio only. Yeah, I think it's in terms of the timing, you weren't quite sure that it was definitely going to drop. Every now and then, sometimes we'll get a heads up of, hey, this guy may drop at this particular time or on this particular date. Didn't have that here, but the outcome is not a surprise. South Carolina's been involved with Xavier Hardy for quite a long time. I think offered initially in the spring of 2021. This is one of the guys that Jimmy Lindsey, defensive line coach at Carolina, he has a lot of ties in the state of Georgia, and I think this is one that, he had he had a tie there and some good relationships that helped on Hardy. Been to campus multiple times. He's on campus in 2021. He took at least 2 visits to Columbia this year, I think back in the spring, and then he took a visit in June. And if Florida at one time was the leader back in June, but South Carolina kind of stayed the course there, and they were able to land Hardy. So he's a guy that athletically, has the traits that you look for. A big body, big frame kid. He's like 6'5", 260, and has the frame to, continue growing and probably be a really, strong inside player. Still has some things to learn, technique standpoint, but he checks a lot of the boxes physically.
Yeah, so 6'5", 260. Is that a 6'5", 260 that's going to come into Carolina to be an edge rusher? I don't know what his speed profile is, his get off, or is he someone that Carolina will probably try to get up to like a 290 or 300 and let him play inside?
I would think he's inside all the way. Eventually, I think that's kind of how they have had him pegged as far as his skill set goes. Probably not the guy that's going to get up to like 320, 330 pounds, but just more of like an athletic inside guy, 3 technique type. Still has some twitch to him, but has the frame to where he's going to get bigger and probably outgrows being on the edge. But, this is someone, like Chris said, they've really, I think he was probably one of the original kids we sort of heard they had identified when they got here and started kind of looking ahead to this 2023 class, as they were completing the 2022 class. So it did look at one point like it was going to be Florida. Even I believe he silently committed to Florida at one point. And, Billy Napier had done his version of welcome home for a Florida commitment. This was months ago, but it kind of came back full circle with South Carolina. And, again, Jimmy Lindsey, relationship building there. And, this is a kid that I think he's an elite SEC type defensive lineman. They continue to stack on both sides of the line of scrimmage in this class, which is kind of all of a sudden, I don't know if we knew that was necessarily going to be the case, but that is the trend with this class. Is you look at it, what stands out is O-line and D-line recruiting so far.
Well, that's why I wanted to take it next, because there's some part of this where it's a position of need. We've talked a lot about the offensive line. These guys have been around for a while, 100-plus starts. It's only natural that at some point you're going to have to replace those guys because they're going to get older and be on their way out of the program. So some of it is a quantity bias. You see an offensive line class that has 5 guys in it. You're like, wow, that's a good offensive line class, especially when you consider Marquis Anderson and a Trovon Baugh. And who's the other 4-star that I'm forgetting right now? Or 4-star OL?
Big treat, Bob Alotto.
Right. So you have those guys, and it's like, okay, this looks like a good offensive line class. But then the rest of it, it's your linebackers and your defensive linemen, and it's some edge guys. It's not like the flashy 5-star wide receiver or flashy 5-star running back or lockdown corner, all of which are great and necessary, and you want to have to be a really good team. But it's like these are the guys that are going to make a difference in the SEC. As much as it's still spread out, you got to be great on both lines of scrimmage, and this has a chance to be as good a class, I think, on both sides of the ball as Carolina's had in a while.
Yeah, it's a good point. Actually, I was going to bring that up. Somebody asked me on the Insiders Forum just a little while ago. We've gotten that question, and we had, you guys remember, a long discussion on that. Where does this O-line class stack up on paper in terms of rankings and, where it may stack up against past classes? You're starting to get a little bit of that with the D-line, too, because now you look up, Xavier Hardy, according to the On3 consensus, is now the second highest ranked guy in the class, behind Anderson, right ahead of Xavier McLeod, who they just got. So you've got Hardy, and you've got Xavier McLeod, and you've got Montague Rames, and that's 3 4-star guys on the defensive line, and they have some others that they have a chance to add. Not going on record saying they will add, but they have a chance to add them. You look at Desmond Umeozulu from Maryland, who is going to commit to A school on August 29th. They're still in the mix for Nicholas Harbor, who could be a tight end. He could be an edge. You could probably play whatever you want anywhere on your football team, just about. Probably not going to be a center or anything like that, but, you put him in.
He could be a coach, too.
Yeah, might as well. So he can do a lot of different things. So now you start looking, and, South Carolina, you don't typically sign 4-star defensive linemen. I mean, one you could look back at, this is just one quick example I found. The 2007 class, they signed 4-star front guys. It was, Melvin Ingram as an edge. Some people had him as a linebacker. But you had Melvin Ingram, you had Cliff Matthews, you had Travian Robertson, you have Clifton Geathers. That was a really good class.
Yeah. Pretty solid class.
And so this one has a chance on paper, if you're looking at just the rankings, to get, close to that.
And really what it's about, at least for me, because nobody thinks that all of these guys are going to pan out. I mean, what are we going to call it? Like an 80% hit rate on that class? Like that's really strong.
I'd say that's almost 100% hit rate on that class.
Yeah.
For sure.
So even if you don't hit that, I mean, what you're doing now is you're giving yourself bites at the apple, which is why the blue chip ratio is so important. Even if a couple of these guys pan out, and this is where it's important, you got to turn the results in on the field. But if you can continue to do this, I mean, none of these feel like aberrations to me. These feel like Carolina was in early on some of these guys. Like they've had their relationships, like you mentioned. There's, of course, going to be turnover in staff, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like any of these are, a huge surprise here. And, Carolina came out of nowhere and it wasn't really warranted. It feels like these are sustainable recruiting relationships that are yielding good players.
Yeah, well, you look at this is the class, the 23 class was the first one where you really needed to, people were anticipating a payoff in kind of the runway that Shane Beamer and his staff had. He gets to Columbia in December 2020. You're not building a 2020 run recruiting class. They've got some guys committed. You're up against the early signing period. You literally can't even host players on your campus because of COVID. You can't go out on the road because of COVID. So basically you're taking what's already committed, which was not a big class at the time. You're working the transfer portal, you're recruiting remotely and trying to build a class. The 22 class, you couldn't have kids. They weren't even here that past summer. Mm-hmm. So you don't have enough time there. The 23, the 24 classes, that's when a new staff with the benefit of actually being able to get kids on campus, being able to have something tangible to point to on the field. They've had one season that went better even than anticipated. That's when you can start building those things. So 2 of those 4-star defensive linemen are in-state guys, which, of course, is a priority. And then another one is, primarily based on getting in on a kid early, as you said, and working a relationship.
No. 803-404-6100. Any recruiting thoughts, questions, comments on Hardy or just Carolina's 2023 class in general? Would love to hear from you guys either in the text line or the Love Chevy phone line. However, you want to be a part of the show, and you can get all of us on Twitter. I'm at Pearson Fowler. He is at Wes Mitchell GC. He's at Coach P Tweets, and he is at GC Chris Clark. I say that pointing at each of these guys so you know who I'm talking about. But you know who I'm talking about. A little bit more on this 2023 class for South Carolina, what they're building, 19 commits, 9 4-star guys. Very, very solid summer it's been for Shane Beamer and co. And then a little bit more on South Carolina's wide receiver group as we continue our position group breakdown next.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
11:21, a Monday morning. Welcome back into the Extra Point. Pearson Fowler, Preston Thorne, Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, all here with you. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour on 107.5 The Game. A lot of great sponsors, people that help make this happen. Not only just you two, just being good at what you do, helping make it happen, but the wonderful folks at Integrated Media, longtime sponsors of your appearances here on 107.5 The Game.
Integrated Media does outstanding work. My favorite thing that they've done at my home, I hadn't talked about this in a little while. Upstairs, you got the old video game systems. Now, right now, you can plug up your, what are we on, a PS5 now? Anybody know? PS5, your Xbox One or 2.
If you could actually get one. But
if you could get one. Everybody's looking. Ask the guys at Integrated Media if you can find one. But now, pretty easy. Wireless stuff. Back in the day, a million wires. And if you want like 4 or 5 systems plugged up at once, forget about that, right? Unless you call Integrated Media. So I called them after I heard them on 107.5 and said, I got this problem. We want to hook up our N64, our Wii, our Genesis, our SNES, and our NES. Can we do that? And they said yes. They hooked it all up on a switcher, all the cables, nice and neat. Boom. So now you go up there, you press power, you turn your switcher on, and you're good to go. Just one of many things that they can do in your home. Wireless speakers, internet, streaming. Football season's around the corner, so you want to make sure that your home theater setup and your internet setup is outstanding to stream all the games. Give them a call, 803-948-8327, or visit their website at integratedmediainc.com.
That's an outstanding setup. Well done.
Yep.
Are those all original, or did you have to go get, like I used to play SNES?
No, all originals. My wife and I cobbled together our collection, and it's still there.
It's really good. I have an N64 that's old, but I don't go back to like Super Nintendo and stuff. That's impressive. You have any old game systems, Preston?
Nope.
You weren't much of a gamer.
Up until PS2, I was in there, but after that, everybody just started getting so good, and I was not, so I quit.
That's fair. All right, guys, I was trying to prep you for this. We were talking about Nathan Fielder's new show, which is amazing. So you know, I'm always happy to put you on the spot. Terry has hit us in the text line as we're talking about Carolina's class of 2023. 19 commits, 9 of them 4 stars right now, maybe even a couple more down the pipe for the Gamecocks, 4 and 5 stars, blue chippers. Terry wants to know what the most 4-star player South Carolina has ever signed in a single class.
Oh, goodness.
Come on, Terry.
Terry, I don't have an answer, but let's
make it up. 2007.
I think that is probably correct, but I don't know that for sure.
It also depends on what rankings you're going by.
Well, we'll go by the on-3
consensus
rankings.
Best, right?
And in 2000,
we have to say that.
2007. So the on-3 consensus had South Carolina at the 7th recruiting class in the country and 4th in the SEC. Of course. But
7th in the country, 8th in the SEC.
See if Chris can count with the pressure on.
Ooh.
It
looks like 1 5-star and 14 4-stars in that class.
Okay, that's going to be the winner.
That's probably.
I don't even think we have to look.
15 blue chippers. Well, okay, and I was going to help you guys out because a couple of weeks ago, maybe months ago, we were talking about Carolina's heyday under Steve Spurrier, and I was just noticing that they never came anywhere close to achieving the blue chip ratio. I think the most they had under Steve Spurrier in one class in terms of blue chippers was like 9 or 10. Like maybe there was a class with 11. I think it was 9 or 10.
The hit rate out of those blue chippers was pretty good
for Spurrier,
but not in this class.
Yeah, will you rattle off 2007 for me, please?
Yeah, so Chris Culliver. Now he was a 5-star,
and he came in as a receiver, didn't he?
He did. I think you call Culliver a hit. Did he get to 5-star status? Probably not. He wasn't a first-round pick. He wasn't a superstar. He was a good starter. He got drafted.
NFL career.
He played in the NFL. All right, Cliff Matthews.
Yep.
Steven Garcia.
The best.
Mark Barnes. Mark Barnes did not, get there. Brian Maddox, star of the Gamecock Central kickoff party. Brian Maddox probably did not have the career that maybe you would have expected based on this ranking. He was ranked as a top 100 kid, but he was a very solid player.
Yeah, solid. Did y'all guys ask him about that Georgia game?
You asked him about the Auburn game.
Okay.
The huddle.
kicked the guy in the face.
That was funny. Travian Robertson hit. Joe Hills was not. Dion LaCorn, he had some injuries. Yeah, Dion LaCorn.
Into the spring game with his injury, right?
Yep. Quentin Richardson, high expectations, offensive tackle out of Spring Valley.
Also had injuries.
Jameer Williams at corner was not. Melvin Ingram.
Triple hit.
Melvin Ingram was on the back half of the rankings of these guys.
The GOAT.
I think he was a hit.
He probably is the highest ranked guy if you went back and re-ranked him.
Yeah, if you re-ranked him,
like maybe in like a 107.5 30 for 30 player list.
Melvin Ingram's a 5-star. You know. Clifton Gathers was a hit, I would say. Jason Barnes, great coach. He is.
Yeah?
He is.
He won number 4,
he's going to be.
right?
Yeah. Jason did not have probably the career.
Jason's on his way as a coach, for sure.
He is really, really good.
So we'll call that a hit.
Addison Williams, also a great coach. Solid player.
Central Florida? No?
Yep. UCF with Gus Malzahn. Had a very solid career. I don't know. You know, it kind of depends on how you define.
I mean, was he a starter or more of a rotational guy?
He's starter.
He started?
Yeah.
I love Addy, but I can't go 4-star. I don't think he would go 4-star.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to ask these guys. Like,
what do you think,
Addy? How would you recruit yourself at this time? You know,
who's most likely to oversell his college career?
And then Matt Clements, also not. Now, one thing to keep in mind: the consensus rankings at 4 stars, your cutoff, you have more leeway. So, like Matt Clements is a consensus number 385 in the country. A lot of times sometimes that's not a 4-star. Yeah. It depends on your service. Like
on 3 cuts it off at 400. 4 and 5-star guys, I believe that I saw.
The crazy thing about this list is how the deeper you get, you got several guys that just completely outplayed expectations. Kyle Nunn, a mid 3-star, ends up starting several years. Let's see. Lonzo Winfield, Chris didn't play a ton. Mike Bowman, no. Dante Nichols, Arky Smith, but then Wesley Saunders. I don't know why he's not ranked.
Yeah, that must be a glitch.
He had to have been.
He probably would have been a 4-star. So give him 15 in that class, probably.
Yeah, Byron McKnight not ranked. He played. He was in the rotation. Lottie Ajiboy from he ended up going to prep school, but ended up being really, really good. Sorry, I completely cut you off, Chris. You can keep going. Pat DeMarco's in this class.
Yeah, Pat DeMarco, probably the lowest ranked guy in any class that you like. Any list, probably be the lowest ranked guy.
And played in the league for 10 years.
One of the best.
Well, I mean,
was an absolute stud.
What would you even have to do as a fullback to be a 4-star? I don't even think that's possible.
That's true. Be ranked as a tight end.
Yeah, that's what they should do. They should have different star rankings. Like wide receiver, I feel like is the most overinflated group of. Like you have guys that are 4-star wide receivers that are worse wide receivers than like 3-star offensive linemen or whatever. There's a lot of inflation, I think, that goes on in recruiting. Because it's hard to be like, oh, man, the way that dude blocks out of the I formation. Did DeMarco play fullback in high school, or was he like a linebacker and a tight end or something?
I actually think he was a really good defensive end in high school, from what I remember. And then probably a guy like that probably did a little bit of everything on offense. I doubt he was playing a true fullback. Probably some tight end. They probably, I mean, he could catch the football too. I'm sure they probably flexed him out, handed him the ball some. I mean, he was a really, really good overall high school football player. Just didn't have the hype, obviously, coming in.
So what was the final tally? 14? Was it 13 and a 5-star or 14 and a 5-star?
14 and a 5-star, but then we didn't have
Wesley Saunders.
Yeah. And then let's see. Okay, I was looking at these. They had some guys that signed that ended up going to prep school for the following class. So I'm not counting those guys.
Does Carolina have a chance at that this year? They have 9 now. Can they get 5 more?
Ooh.
It's going to be close.
You owe Chris $5.
Right now, let's see. I'll say no right now.
Okay.
I think they got a chance to get a couple more, maybe a few more in that category.
So double digits, but not 15?
Yep. By the way, Patrick DeMarco high school stats. I have them. Anybody want them?
Yeah.
Hit me.
Primarily used on a blocker on offense and an end on defense, like Wes said. 125 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, and 17 sacks as a senior.
Ooh, Pat.
8 touchdowns on offense. He was the player of the year in Central Florida.
Wait, 8 touchdowns on offense, and he was primarily used as a blocker, just scooping up a lot of his teammates' fumbles and running them in.
Should have got him the ball more, I guess.
Yeah, Pat was a stud, man.
Yeah.
Very good. Good golfer, too, as we've found out since he's joined Shane Beamer's staff.
I'm going to say, as far as that number, if there's a couple of guys that are the way they could get to 15 is if some of these borderline high 3, low 4, if they all sort of
if they break 4
to the 4.
Who are some of the
high
3s that might break 4 now?
I mean, Jalen Kilgore has been back and forth between a 3 and 4. Okay. Just based on the numbers, it's like he's the same player, obviously. But if a guy gets bumped up ahead of him and he naturally goes down one, like he's literally right on the line where the cutoff is. Kelton Henderson, I think, has been the same thing. He's right there. The Shivers kid, the big offensive tackle, he could bump up, I think, as well.
Even Isaiah Jada, possible. I mean, On 3 has him as a 4-star, and then the others,
in their own like individual.
What is the JUCO guys? I feel like some services, well, maybe they do, but initially when he had signed, he didn't have any stars, and that was a product of him being a JUCO guy. So will people act like retroactively, or will some services not even do stars for JUCO guys?
No, they'll go back. Okay. Just because they're going to be in the class. It's not like if he was already on campus or something, it was just like, oh, we found this guy and he just enrolled. They probably wouldn't do that. But, since he won't be here until January, he'll be a part of the class. He'll be counted in the rankings. They almost always go back for if you're a Power 5 guy, they're going to put a ranking on you.
All right. Well, there you go. There's some Carolina recruiting for you. Any questions or thoughts that you do have, 803-404-6100 is how you can get those in on the show here. We'll circle back around as we do get more recruiting updates as Carolina gets closer and closer to the season. But 12 days away from kickoff, we'll start to focus on this year's team. And as our position group breakdowns continue, we'll focus a little bit more on the wide receivers. Preston and I have encountered an issue in talking about the wide receivers, and that is that all of our wide receiver conversations lead back to Jaheim Bell. So a couple of guys that stand by the TE next to his name, we will get you to justify how all of our wide receiver conversations come back to Jaheim Bell next.
Founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
11:39. Monday morning, welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Pearson Fowler, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark here with you guys, and one of the terrific sponsors of the 107.5 The Game, Gamecock Central Combo Power Hour is Firehouse Subs. Delicious sandwiches, hot, and most importantly, easy to get. Wherever you are, Firehouse Subs close to you. You can do rapid rescue.
I'm going to order one right now. So all you have to do is go to firehousesubs.com. You click Rapid Rescue. It pops up. You hit Continue as Guest. Then you've got a list here. You know what? We're going meatball today. Mm-hmm. You can customize if you want, but the meatball sub is perfect as it is. I'm going to hit medium because I'm getting fat, but I'm not that fat. So we're not going full all in. Order as is. Do we want a cookie combo, a chip combo?
Cookie combo.
Brownie combo. We're adding.
I would still go cookie combo.
So Firehouse on your brownie rating, Wes, internal system?
Brownie rating, very Firehouse, 9.5 out of 10. You can upgrade your order, but I'm sticking with what we got. And then you just click checkout. If you're like me and you have your credit card saved, all of it goes in right now. Calculating the time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Click payment, and it'll be waiting on me after the show.
That was outstanding.
Let's just order the sandwich.
If my kids
on the fly.
My kid's favorite is the meatball.
Oh, yeah?
As well.
I am a
they're
big
listening, they're jealous.
Meatball sub fan.
I used to love meatball subs as a kid. I love meatball subs now, but I remember one time, because my parents would get, just like a turkey or whatever, and they put veggies on there. And I was like, let me be like my parents. Let me put some veggies on there. And I guess I didn't eat that many veggies. But anyway, long story short, I ended up getting like lettuce on a meatball sub. And it was kind of weird. And then I didn't eat meatball subs for a while. So I just kind of stick with just meat and cheese.
Meatball sub is one of the few things that you just don't really have to customize it. Like, it's just, it's good as it is. My let's really up this thing go-to, if I want to be different, throw some pepperoni on there.
Oh, pepperoni?
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool. I thought you were
Pepperoni.
going to say pepperoncini. I was going to say that's what I'll do. Just like a little pickled pepperoncini on there.
Banana peppers.
Yeah, or
on
pickled
there.
banana peppers.
The pepperoni, oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Chef kiss.
100%.
I'm
Yes.
telling you.
Well, too bad you already finalized your order. You could have.
I know. No, I wasn't thinking
Sorry,
about
missed
it.
opportunity. But you know what? You can go again tomorrow and like every day for the
probably
rest
will.
of your life. That's
Yeah.
Firehouse Subs. All right, guys. It's wide receiver position group breakdown today. So let me throw this out there. Just tell me where I'm wrong. I'm imagining the two deep in my head. Over here, you got Josh Van, Corey Rucker. In the slot, you got Amarian Brown, DeCarrion Joyner. The other wideout, got XL, Juice Wells. That's two deep, right?
I think you're going to be kind of close, man. Except you're also missing Jalen Brooks.
Yeah, so I haven't thought about him. He was not with the team, and then he's back with the team. Like, mixed bag in terms of anticipation, because it was like, what did he come from, like Wingate?
Wingate.
Wingate. He came from Wingate, and everyone was like, what's this all
Wingate.
about? And then he got into practice, and I was like, okay, wait, this is just like late bloomer, someone that can be a real weapon, and then, hadn't put it all together last year, which makes sense. You're making a big adjustment to a different level of football. I haven't even heard his name this preseason, but you're telling me he's in the mix.
He is definitely in the mix. And I think the reason it's going to be so hard to put together a true two deep right now, in my head, I kind of have them segmented the way you do as well, as far as outside and slot. But also, you have several guys who can play multiple receiver spots, whether it's kind of all three, whether it's playing both outsides, whether it's playing inside and outside. I feel as if the two I am most comfortable with right now on August 22nd, Josh Van's going to be on the field. We know that. Just as far as the level of buzz I hear about them from people I talk to, I feel like Juice Wells is going to be too good to be on the sideline. Wow. Like, I feel like he will be on the field. Then, obviously you brought up, Jaheim Bell, whatever you call him, he's going to be on the field in some way. So it's kind of like, all right, how much is there a true slot receiver on the field? How much is it, Jaheim Bell playing slot? How much is it that Jaheim Bell is in the backfield? You have a true slot receiver, you have two outside wide receivers, and you have Stogg at tight end. I think we're going to see all that. Jaheim Bell at running back. So I think the other guy that I keep hearing buzz about all of a sudden is Amarian Brown, who had a really, really good spring, has carried that over into the fall. We saw him take some first-team reps at practice. He's going to play a lot, I think. So, Brooks, with Josh Van out, they've been easy about mixing Josh Van in.
But Van doesn't really need reps at this point.
Exactly. But Brooks unless my eyes completely deceived me, he was out there at times with the first team in the open practice last week. So Brooks is in there. Xavier Legette's in there. DeCarrion Joyner is in there at slot in the rotation as well. So all those guys we're talking about are your guys. It's really, I think, going to depend on how the season truly plays out, who is able to transition that or transfer that over from practice field to game field and goes out there and makes plays for you, I think will determine as the year goes on what that rotation actually looks like. And then I describe him as just the wild card of the whole thing. Rucker is the person I just circle and I say, as the year goes on, once he gets more comfortable, gets back 100%, he may be too good. Like, I feel like he's going to take reps from somebody. Who that is, how it plays out, who stays 100% healthy, who's playing banged up. There are all these variables that we don't know right now. I feel very confident saying all those guys we just mentioned, that's your group. Like, that's your guys.
7 guys for essentially 6 spots on the two deep.
That's my impression. Like, I'm not trying to speak for the coaches or anything like that, but that's my feel based on what I've seen, what I've heard. But yeah, Van's going to be out there, and I think Wells right now is going to be too good not to be out there. as well.
All right, I want to come back around because the slot position is interesting to me. I feel like I have arrived at a place where that's going to be the biggest casualty in the wide receiver room because of what Jaheim Bell is going to offer as essentially a slot receiver. So I want to get your thoughts on what that position means and then really just what that means. I guess we kind of had this conversation last week, but just, how many guys are going to be playing? What's a best case scenario for South Carolina? Let me put it to you this way, and y'all can weigh into 803-404-6100. Is it better if Carolina has, let's say, like 3 guys that are getting 20-plus catches? Or is it better if they have 6 guys that make it into double digits? Be thinking about that. 803-404-6100. We'll keep talking about the wide receiving depth chart next.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
11:52 Monday morning, wrapping things up here on the Gamecock Central Hour on 107.5 The Game. Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell here with you talking about South Carolina's wide receivers, a group maybe goes as deep as 7. People have a lot of anticipation. And I just have to come back to a question that I asked you guys last week. I don't know how many wide receivers are going to be on the field at any given time for South Carolina. There's a lot of Jaheim Bell out there. Even if he's lining up as a true tight end, you just have your 2 wide receivers, probably with Austin Stogner. A lot of times he's going to be lined up in the slot. He gives you a lot of positional versatility, but I look at it as, the 2 guys that are maybe the most threatened by Jaheim Bell's presence in this offense are probably Amarian Brown and Dakereon Joyner. Wes, you mentioned Brown specifically, someone that had a really good spring and has carried that over into the preseason. Is he going to be able to carve a role out for himself in the offense?
Yeah, I think so. I do agree with your premise. Like, this is, can't remember which coach, I remember talking about this a long time ago. It's like, you're not just competing with the guys in your room. You're competing as a room with the guys at tight end. You're competing with the guys at running back to be sort of almost the default personnel that's going to end up on the field when we're 1st and 10, or in this situation, if you're 3rd and passing, it's probably a different conversation. But yeah, I agree. Jaheim Bell is going to be on the field, period. But Austin Stogner's probably going to be on the field a lot as well. I think you will see a rotation. Those guys will get their chances. The real question for me, guys, is going to just be, how does it statistically break out from a percentage chance? Like, those guys are going to be on the field. Mm-hmm. If you're Amarian Brown, not a pressure thing, man, but you'll just have to take advantage of some of those opportunities and sort of make it be a situation where they say, wow, we have to kind of split this, as opposed to it's 75% two tight ends, quote unquote, with one of the tight ends in the slot.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
And like you mentioned, even if you are technically in 12 personnel and you have Jaheim out there, that can look like 11 with him lined up in the slot. It can look like 12 with him on the line, or it can look like 21 with him in the backfield, like you mentioned. So I guess I feel like, with that in mind, Chris, is the best case scenario not that South Carolina just has 3 guys that maybe have 20? I'm talking wide receivers. 3 wide receivers, true guys with a WR next to their name, with like 20-plus catches, as opposed to, maybe not really being able to sort it out, and you have 6 guys that have 18 apiece or something like that. 25. Something like that.
Well, the most important thing is that they have guys with catches a lot higher. And I think I'll go back to what we mentioned the other week. Like, you look at the 2012 offense, it was pretty doggone good a lot of the times. You look at 2014, which was, put up some really, really good numbers at times too. And they got it done differently because they had Pharaoh Cooper in 2014, who was the alpha dog. He had 69 catches. I don't think any one player on this team has 69 catches at the end of the year. It's possible. Like, they have some guys that maybe are capable of that.
Who's the most likely to do that?
Ooh,
Antoine Wells.
Yeah, that's
more
what
than
I'm
Josh.
suggesting. Yeah, wow, that's where I'm at too. But if you're making, if I had to take a guess, I don't think that happens. You look at 2012, their top two guys, Ace Sanders and Bruce Ellington, had 45 and 40. Then you look at 2014, and they had, the alpha dog in Koopa, but their second guy was Nick Jones. He had 42. Then you had Shaq Rowland, Buster Anderson, Jarrell Adams. They all had 21. But Demir Bird had 20 that year. So I don't really think one is better than the other, as far as having, I guess it would be, what did you say, 4 or 5 guys that have 20 each?
I was thinking because I'm just saying, like, our Josh Van, I'll say Josh Van XL and Corey Rucker, are they going to get 70% of the wide receiver snaps this year?
No.
So my brain doesn't know how to compute that, actually, because I don't know who's taken from what. But, no,
I'm just thinking, I don't know how much Takarian and Marion are going to play.
A 20, like if we're talking about splitting it up and guys are just in the 20s, that's not going to be a good thing. I feel like even if it's spread around,
right?
It's going to need to be like, this guy had 40 catches, this guy had 37, this guy had 32. Like,
you need a couple guys
in the 40s.
In the 40s, like. or you need
50.
one that has.
Yeah. Well, assuming that Jaheim's going to be like in your 40 to 50 catch range, it's going to have to be, again, Josh or XL or Juice in that same kind of range, and then a couple other guys, as opposed to, I don't know. I don't see. I shouldn't say I don't see, because I don't really know. But there is so much anticipation about this wide receiver room, and I think they will be better than last year. But it feels like they will have fewer opportunities if you're trying to get, especially, think about getting touches for your running backs out of the backfield, throwing the ball to Juju in space, getting him the ball in space. A lot of people have hit me in the text line over the last couple weeks are worried about or curious about getting, Lil Turbo and Lavassier Carroll involved in the passing game too. It just seems like there's a lot of mouths to feed.
Well, first of all, if the offense as a whole is better than it was last year, which it should be, you're not going to have fewer opportunities, because last year, their plays per game that were available to the offense were extremely limited, I think. And two, you can't have an offense that looked like the one last year and then have it be a complaint this year of, oh, there's too many mouths to feed, there's too many good players. Like, I feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. You're supposed to have some depth. Like, you're supposed to be having the conversation of, man, we got to get this guy the ball. We got to get this guy the ball. Like, I can't conceivably spin that into a negative to say, if the fifth guy that we're talking about, we don't even know who the fifth guy will be, but let's say the fifth or sixth, whoever just ends up being the fifth or sixth guy out of this receiver group, that's life. That's football. Like, that's sports. Sometimes you're the guy, and sometimes you really work hard and you do everything right to be the guy, and sometimes you're not the guy.
Yeah. Everyone's got the cutoff point somewhere.
Exactly.
We'll start to get a sense probably in the next week or so where that is for South Carolina. We're running a little long here. We'll give Wes the last word on that.
The Talkville Podcast gives you a weekly dose of nostalgia as Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum revisit Smallville.
The early episodes have so many stories, they were shooting them out of order, and people were getting fired left and right. 5 directors worked on Metamorphosis Episode 2. They kept shooting and reshooting sequences to get it right. Tom's haircuts are all over the place.
I didn't remember any of that. Sounds like we were quite the conundrum there.
Join Clark Kent and Lex Luthor on the Talkville Podcast every week wherever you get your podcasts.